Welcome to Honeybee. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. There are moments in a marriage when you suddenly realize that the person you thought you knew, the person you promised to build a life with, has priorities that no longer include you. For me, that moment didn't come during a fight or an affair. It came when I stood outside my own house, locked out, staring at my belongings stuffed into garbage bags on the porch. All because I dared suggest that my wife's adult brother should contribute something to the household he'd been living in for free for months. Amanda and I had been married for 8 years when this happened. To be fair, our marriage already had cracks that probably should have been addressed long before. We weren't in a full-blown crisis yet, but we definitely weren't thriving. Like many couples, we had slipped into that stage where life becomes about paying bills, meeting obligations, and getting to the day rather than nurturing the connection that brought us together in the first place. The small arguments started happening more often over the last 2 years, about money, chores, how we'd spend weekends, and whose turn it was to deal with family obligations. These disagreements felt heavier than they should have, weighed down by a tension that neither of us really confronted. We stopped having meaningful conversations that actually solved problems. Instead, we maintained a polite surface-level peace that was often interrupted by brief flare-ups of frustration. Our physical intimacy had dropped off too. What used to feel natural and frequent had become something we treated like an item on a checklist, more obligation than connection. We still shared a bed and went through the motions of affection, but the emotional distance between us seemed to grow wider every month. I started feeling like Amanda wasn't really hearing me when I spoke. She wasn't disrespectful, exactly, but it felt like my role had shifted from being her equal partner to simply supporting her decisions. Then came Tyler, Amanda's younger brother. At 28, Tyler had never held a job for more than 6 months, had a history of impulsive choices and financial recklessness, and seemed to treat family less like a mutual relationship and more like a safety net. He arrived one rainy Thursday night with 2 duffel bags and the look of someone expecting to be rescued. He told Amanda he had lost his warehouse job, broken up with his girlfriend of 3 months, and been kicked out of their shared apartment. He just needed a few weeks to get back on his feet. Amanda immediately offered him the guest room, glancing at me only for formality. I could tell this wasn't really up for debate. In her mind, family helps family. Period. I didn't love the idea, given Tyler's track record and the fragile state of our marriage. But I also didn't want to be the person who turned away someone genuinely in need. I agreed, emphasizing the word temporary, and suggesting we set a few ground rules about him helping out around the house and actively job hunting. Amanda nodded, but clearly thought I was being too harsh on someone already going through a rough patch. The first week went smoothly enough. Tyler mostly stayed in the guest room or lounged on the couch, saying he was applying for jobs and recovering emotionally. Amanda doted on him, cooking for him, doing his laundry, and having long conversations about his plans. I kept my distance, reminding myself this was temporary. By week 2, a pattern started forming that made me uneasy. Tyler would sleep until after I left for work, spend his afternoons watching TV or playing games on his phone, and only really perk up in the evenings when Amanda came home. He'd greet her like a long-lost friend, tell her about his busy day, and talk with her late into the night. I started noticing our grocery bills climbing. Tyler had expensive tastes, preferred brand-name snacks and specialty items we usually bought only on occasion, and ate through large amounts of food, including leftovers we had planned for meals. Our utilities were spiking too. Long showers, lights left on, TV streaming all day, which even slowed our internet. When I brought up the extra cost to Amanda, she brushed it off, saying we could afford it and that helping her brother was more important than worrying about a few dollars. She reminded me that Tyler had always been generous when he did have money, and that family doesn't keep score. I tried talking to Tyler directly, casually asking about his job hunt. His answers were always vague, waiting to hear back, networking, or figuring out the right direction. When I offered to help with his resume or connected with my professional network, he thanked me but never followed up. After a month of this routine, I sat him down for a more serious talk. I found him in the living room, watching a movie while eating the expensive deli meat I had bought for our dinners. I pressed him for specifics, Had he actually applied anywhere? Did he have interviews lined up? What was his realistic timeline to be independent again? Tyler became defensive, saying I didn't understand how hard the job market was, and that pushing would only make things worse. That night, I told Amanda we needed to talk. I calmly explained that Tyler wasn't making progress, that our expenses were climbing, and that a few weeks had already turned into over a month. Amanda immediately defended him, saying he was doing his best and that I was being unreasonable. She accused me of putting money ahead of family. That conversation revealed just how differently Amanda and I saw things. She believed family should be supported indefinitely, no questions asked. I believed help should come with reasonable expectations and a clear path toward independence. By the third month, I felt like a stranger in my own house. I'd come home to find Amanda and Tyler laughing together in the kitchen. Their conversations would fall silent when I entered, as if I was interrupting. Amanda gave more of her emotional energy to Tyler than to me. Our conversations had become shallow, often interrupted by Tyler or cut short. At that point, I realized Tyler wasn't just draining us financially. He was taking up the emotional space in my marriage. Amanda was more animated and engaged with him than she had been with me in months. His presence was shining a light on just how disconnected Amanda and I had become. Eventually, I began quietly pulling back. I stopped buying his favorite foods, adjusted the thermostat, and stopped covering costs related to his presence. Tyler noticed immediately and started making sarcastic comments. Amanda confronted me, and we had several tense talks where I told her I would provide shelter but would no longer subsidize her brother's lifestyle. The breaking point came one Tuesday evening. I came home from work exhausted, and Tyler confronted me in the kitchen. He demanded to know why I had made things harder for him and accused me of treating him like an unwanted guest. I calmly told him that at 28, he needed to start contributing financially if he wanted to stay. Tyler exploded, accusing me of being controlling, trying to come between him and his sister, and saying Amanda deserved a better husband. He stormed off to tell her his side of the story. When Amanda confronted me, she was furious. She accused me of being cruel to Tyler and made it clear she expected me to apologize and resume covering his costs. I realized in that moment that she had fully chosen Tyler's comfort over my concerns. The next day, I came home to find myself locked out. My belongings were on the porch, and Amanda had left a note saying I needed to think about how I treated her brother. I saw her through the window and asked her to let me in so we could talk. She refused, saying she wanted me to understand what it felt like to feel unwelcome in a place that should feel safe. The irony hit me like a brick. She was locking me out of my own home to teach me about belonging when I had been feeling unwelcome in my own marriage for months. I called the police, but they told me it was a civil matter. I spent that night in a hotel, thinking about everything. Amanda had literally chosen her brother over me, over our marriage. The next morning, I called an attorney. At first, I asked about getting a court order to get back into my house. But halfway through conversation, I realized I didn't want to fight my way back into a home where I clearly wasn't wanted. Instead, I asked for a referral to a divorce lawyer. When I met with a divorce attorney and told her what happened, she was stunned that Amanda had locked me out over this. She assured me that Amanda's actions would only strengthen my case. I told her to file immediately. Amanda was shocked when she was served. She thought I'd eventually apologize and come back begging. Instead, I ended the marriage. Ironically, during the divorce process, Amanda finally began to see Tyler's true colors. She caught him taking money from her savings and lie about job interviews he never attended. The final straw came when he was arrested for shoplifting, forcing Amanda to spend even more of her money bailing him out. By the time the divorce was finalized, she had kicked Tyler out and admitted I had been right all along. She texted me later, apologizing and hoping we could stay friends. I thanked her for the apology, but told her I had no interest in keeping contact. Being locked out of my own home over defending reasonable boundaries showed me just how misaligned our values were. Sometimes a relationship ends so completely that there's nothing left to salvage. Looking back, Tyler didn't destroy my marriage. He just exposed the cracks that were already there. Amanda chose family loyalty over partnership, and I chose self-respect over staying in a marriage where I wasn't heard. That night I spent outside my home turned out to be the start of a better life. One where I prioritize honesty, responsibility, and relationships built on mutual respect.